to another edition of Dish It Out. I'm your host today, Frank Benowitz, and joining me is a good friend of ours, Chef Jeffrey Kuzminer from Firmenich. Welcome.
All right, Frank. Good
Very
to see
well. You. And Jeff has been very involved with our programs here at Mercer County College, and he's helped in the creation of a new program entitled Culinology. And he's going to show us a little bit about what our future food scientists may use in the kitchen to help them become better kitchen and, in your case, a techno chef.
Well, actually, Frank, the objective here is twofold. One, it's to provide future chefs with the technical scientific knowledge that they'll need to really compete in the modern age of cooking, and food scientists to get the culinary training that they need to understand food.
Well, why don't we get started with the actual dish you're going to do for us today, and we can demonstrate, and actually you'll demonstrate the sous vide method of cooking, and then I can ask some more questions that maybe our viewers at home may be thinking themselves.
Absolutely. The bottom line with sous vide cooking is the components, if you will, that make it possible are a food grade plastic bag that can survive heating. And these are commonly available these days as an adjunct to a little vacuum packaging machine. You've seen them on late night TV, I'm sure, advertised. This particular brand is Food Saver. Sears makes them. There are a lot of companies out there that make a similar unit. This, of course, is a home unit. We wouldn't necessarily be using something like this in a commercial setting, only because the volume and throughput would probably wind up breaking that in no time. Commercial units, much larger units that can do high volume processing, obviously are out there, but they're a lot more expensive. I think something like this you could probably get for about $100 these days, or maybe even cheaper on eBay. And the bottom line is it pulls the oxygen out of the bag after the food's been put in, and it forms a seal. So essentially what you have is a hermetically sealed container for your food to then be placed in the water bath, which is the other major component of sous vide cooking.
Okay, so this is something that our viewers at home would have no problem obtaining.
Absolutely.
Now, as far as the water bath, is that something, and ladies and gentlemen, don't start entering your bathtubs at this moment. This is a different type of unit, is it not, Jeff?
Well, this is a laboratory water bath. It's very, what's the word I want? It controls the temperature extremely well, to 1/10 of a degree in either centigrade or Fahrenheit. It's not necessarily absolutely necessary to have this in your home in order to do sous vide cooking. You can certainly set up for instance, a large stock pot or sauce pot on your stove, set at very, very low temperature with maybe a flame tamer underneath, one of those metal devices that kind of reduces the temperature. The secret to it is, though, that you have to keep the temperature of the water way below simmering.
Okay.
So it can't get to 212 or even 200 degrees Fahrenheit. We're talking about cooking in the 125 to 150 degree range, which is not too much hotter than what you can stand on your hand.
So our water right now is set at about 124 degrees approximately?
The water in this water bath right now is at around 124 degrees Fahrenheit, which is obviously, it's not terribly hot. It's not something that burns you, and you would think, well, how can I cook something in that?
Exactly. I don't even know if that would make a good cup of tea at this point.
Exactly right. The secret is that cooking as a process, the part of cooking we seem to forget about when we're talking about low temperature cooking is the time element. You have to always factor in the time element to whatever temperature you're cooking with in order to determine let's say, a safe product. The temperatures we're taught are what we call worst case scenario, where we don't want to get a lawsuit, whether we're a cookbook writer or a chef or anyone else who's in a situation where they're preparing food for someone else to eat. They don't want to put themselves in a situation where they're going to possibly be sued because of food-borne illness. The truth is, the FDA, our government, says that 165 degrees is not necessary to have for safe food.
Okay.
Okay, and you can, as I said, it depends on the time as well as the temperature. You know, at a low, very low temperature, certain foods you may have to cook for hours.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You may not have that time.
Yeah.
In that case, you have to go with a higher temperature in order to get
shorter
that
amount
shorter
of time.
time and give up the benefits of what we have here, which is what we call long or low temperature, long time cooking.
Okay.
Right? So anyway, that in a nutshell is what we're doing, and it is safe. Not a sterilization. It doesn't. You don't wind up with a product that you can leave on room temperature on the shelf. All right. It's more of a pasteurization where you can extend the shelf life as long as it remains refrigerated or frozen.
Okay. Well, now that you've explained a lot of the science there, I don't know about you at home, but I'm starting to get a little hungry. Shall we begin our meal of the day?
Let's put some packages together.
Sounds
Okay.
good.
I think we're going to make some salmon,
Okay.
sous vide. And again, salmon is a beautiful product to cook that way. One of the problems with sous vide is, as you know, it's moist heat cooking.
Mm-hmm.
And in moist heat cooking, because you don't have that dry heat to cause the caramelization or Maillard reaction, browning,
Yes.
you don't get any surface browning, which in a piece of salmon is not a problem.
Of course
Even
not.
a chicken breast is not a problem. But a steak or lamb or another meat that you'd normally want with that nice crusty finish, you're not going to get it in the bag.
Okay.
So typically what we would do in the case of a piece of meat, after the cooking was finished, after the sous vide step was finished, we would take it out and either brown it very, very quickly on a very hot pan or a grill, or even take a torch and torch the surface in order to develop that color.
Okay, just more for the color and texture.
Just for the color and that crunchy outer texture. As you know, with a roast or a steak, the outside cooks faster
Yes.
than the inside. And when you slice a steak, you see actually what I call a cooking gradient, where the outside is more well done, and as you go towards the center, it gets less and less.
Yes.
And
Which,
so
which is the beauty if you're doing something like a seared ahi tuna.
Exactly right. With sous vide, the entire interior will be equally cooked from edge to center. There is no outside, inside. It's all one color.
Okay, so you'll actually get a more thoroughly cooked product
Absolutely.
that's cooked evenly.
But you won't have the color or crust that you expect from roasting or sautéing or grilling, which
nice.
is why you do that afterwards.
Thoroughly cooked. Thoroughly cooked. Let's thoroughly cook
Okay,
something.
let's do some salmon.
Okay, so we have this fresh salmon here.
So it's quite easy. You take your bag. We've already prepared some bags. We're going to place a fillet in the bag. Now another thing about sous vide is because all the flavorings are trapped inside the bag, okay? Nothing flashes off, nothing can get out of the bag.
Okay.
None of the juices, none of the flavors. One of the things you have to be careful of is not to over-season the fish.
Yeah, 'cause
So
will that concentrate a lot of that flavor
it
when it
definitely
cooks?
concentrates the flavors. So all I'm going to do is put a little bit of basil and a thin slice of lemon.
And what's the cook time on something like this?
Something like this, well, we're going to be using, as you said, about 124 degrees. This will be about a 15-minute cook.
Okay, so that's
Now,
not bad.
you could cook these, chill them, stick them in the reach-in or the walk-in, and then when service time comes, you take out the bags, and when one is ordered, pop it back in your water bath, and it'll come to temperature very quickly.
Okay, so you
it's-
can cook these in advance.
Absolutely.
How about people at home? Could they do something similar in a stock pot?
Well, again, you
And
can,
then it's just getting it to stay at that constant
Right.
temperature that's the trick.
as long as you can keep the temperature constant for the period of time that the product is in there, you can certainly do that. Now, you can certainly, if you're that interested, you can buy either a water bath or there is something called a thermal immersion circulator.
So now, what are we going to do with this now, Jeff? We have our
Now,
fish,
just,
and
put
do we
a
need
little,
to put?
we're going to put a little oil in. little olive oil, extra virgin olive oil.
And do we need to put any salt
About
or
a
pepper or
teaspoon.
anything else?
We could do that. Certainly, you can season it any way you want. I think I'm going to provide most of the seasoning through our sauce and side dish.
And in advance, I think you said that you actually made a brine solution,
We
salt
did
and water.
actually brine these. Again, what that helps with is keeping the protein, which ultimately, if you've ever poached salmon, you know that as the temperature rises in the water, the protein in the salmon starts to solubilize, comes to the surface, and essentially precipitates out on the surface. These ugly white, little gummy proteinaceous balls.
Yeah, I think we've all seen that where the white is actually coming out of the salmon, meaning that the protein's pretty much gone now, and you've basically overcooked the fish.
Absolutely right. So one of the ways to help prevent that from happening is to we put it in a 10% brine for 10 minutes.
Okay, so that was
And
10% salt, 90% water.
That's going to help to prevent that.
Okay, and now I should go ahead and just
Go ahead
vacuum
and
seal
pull the
this?
vacuum,
Okay.
because the vacuum will tend to pull all liquid up and out of the bag and into the unit. So we like to have gravity help us to maintain the liquid in the bag.
So this is what we call working for your supper. Okay. And I know before you mentioned to me, Jeff, that it may be worthwhile to put a double seal on there just to...
It's always good. We call that the belt and suspenders approach, so that you make sure your pants don't fall down. You're covered twice.
There you go. Okay, so I'm putting a second seal on there, and we did that with the bags at the bottom as well.
Now, you're not pulling a vacuum now. You're just having a seal made.
Just a seal. Now I got the double seal here and the double seal here.
Looks good. Now, while you finish the other two bags, I'm going to set up my thermocouple.
Okay.
Okay. Obviously, if we know in advance what the time temperature relationship is for the given unit here, we don't have to worry about it. But for today, I'm going to show you what we do when we're testing that out. And basically what I'm using is some foam weather seal you can get at the hardware store. And I'm just going to cut off a piece about 1/2 inch. And I'm going to stick it on the surface of my package. And then using an electronic thermometer, I'm going to insert the business end through the weather sealing into the salmon.
Isn't that going to puncture right through the...
Well, what the weather seal does is it provides a kind of a self-sealing, self-seal around the hole. So the vacuum remains even though I've punctured it. And we're going to watch as the temperature in the interior of the salmon rises. Right now, the interior temperature is about 6 degrees centigrade. Our final temperature, once it's cooked, is going to be about 45 degrees centigrade. We'll put all three in, and then we'll move on to our sauce and side dish that we're going to make today.
Sounds great.
Hi, I'm Doug Fee, coordinator of the hospitality programs here at Mercer County Community College. And I'd like to invite you down to the Culinary Center here at Mercer County College, where you can enjoy great facilities and expand your culinary horizons. You can do that in a number of ways. We offer many one-session and series classes on how to cook. Whether it's basic or advanced, we have classes for you. You get to come and play and cook, and best of all, you don't have to do the dishes. Learn real authentic cuisine, such as international cuisine, from chefs who learn their trade there. So come see us, check us out at mccc.edu/HRIM and see all that we have to offer. You'll be glad you did, and I hope to see you there.
Okay, so now that we have all the packages made, we're going to simply put them in the water bath. And since we pulled a vacuum, we shouldn't have any problem with floating. That would have been one of the problems without pulling the vacuum. If there was air trapped in the bag,
Okay, it would actually
float.
rise to the top.
And then you would have uneven cooking.
Okay.
All right, and then we're going to put our temperature probed salmon in there now.
Okay. And you said that's about 15
We have
minutes
about
roughly.
15 minutes, and it should be done by that point. We're going to make an apple juice pomegranate beurre blanc,
Okay.
And as a side, we're going to make a mango and roasted red pepper salsa,
Sounds great.
which actually you and I have had experience with because that's the salsa that won the Best Salsa Award for the New Jersey State Chilean Salsa Contest.
I was going to
Tom's
mention
River.
that.
That's
That
right.
was a great day. The first place winner, as a matter of fact.
Absolutely.
Congratulations. It was,
We don't want any other place but first.
Of course not. So this is the first place award winning for the state of New Jersey. People's choice of mango salsa.
That's it. And I'm going to let you make it.
Oh, God bless you.
I'm going to start on the beurre blanc.
Okay, so you have to give me some guidance along the way. I have the mango that's already medium diced.
Basically, with that salsa, there's no way to mess it up.
That's the beauty of it. We have here some cilantro. And I know you like lots of cilantro in your salsa. The more the merrier, right? And you also like to make this preferably in advance so that the flavors can start to
You
gel
want to make it
together.
in advance, but not too far in advance, because what will happen is it'll start to, the salt that's in the seasoning will draw the liquid out of the fruit, and it'll get a little soupy over time. So you really don't want to make it
maybe
too
just
far
an
in
hour or
advance.
two
I'd
in
say an hour or
advance.
two, yeah.
And this would be some seasoned rice vinegar, is that correct?
We have some Japanese seasoned rice vinegar.
Okay. And this is chipotle Tabasco sauce.
That's correct.
A little smokiness and touch of heat. What else do we have here? Is this some diced jalapeno?
Those are roasted jalapenos.
Oh, roasted jalapeno.
Oh, yeah.
See, he's giving away all his secrets
All the
today.
secrets.
And what else do we have here? We have some roasted red pepper.
Yep.
Okay, and
Diced
diced
tomato.
tomato. And any preference on the diced tomato, whether it be a certain kind, whether it be a plum or aroma or
Not really.
fresh or
Not
canned,
Really.
or-
I always use canned.
and is this the juice of one lemon?
That's the juice of actually
Or half a lemon?
lime.
Oh, a lime.
Yep. Can help you there.
Okay, and little red onion.
Yep.
And so basically people can use whatever they want in here, but it wouldn't be award winning, would it?
Well, I hope they don't.
A little salt.
I don't need any more competition, thank you.
That is very true.
Actually, that's sugar. And
Oh,
this
I'm sorry.
This is some adobo seasoning.
See
That's
that?
where our salt's coming.
I failed you. I'm
No,
sorry.
it's all right. You're learning.
And this is the adobo
That's the
with
adobo with cumin.
with cumin.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, and just give that a stir, and then we can go back to you and doing that sauce, and we'll be ready for plate up afterwards.
That's it. Just so you know, what I've done so far is I've taken a combination of apple juice, pomegranate juice, and some white wine, and I'm now going to add some shallot.
You say that like the Europeans. Shallot versus shallot.
Well, I mean, it's a shallot. Call it as I see it.
Absolutely.
And essentially what I'm doing is I'm going to allow this to reduce down by half. And then I'm going to strain it.
And then would you use this for something else other than salmon? Would you recommend?
Oh, that salsa is great with everything from salmon to hot dogs. I mean, it's just a great accompaniment to so many foods.
Have a banana. Eating well and playing go together like best friends.
You better believe it.
With the food pyramid, the bare necessities of living healthy are easy.
Bare necessities, the simple bare necessities.
So eat right. Be active.
Now move. That's it.
And don't forget to have fun. That's the way to be the best
You're lots of fun, Baloo.
at anything you do. You can go to mypyramid.gov to play some games and find out more.
So Frank, we've got our reduction, and I'm just going to strain out the solids. It's a kind of a syrupy consistency.
I was
is what we're
going to
looking
say
for.
that. At least we're thinking this along the same lines.
There you go. Okay, set this down. Now I'm going to reduce the temperature a little bit here.
Okay. Anyone to get that consistency even a little thicker, or is it fine the way it is?
No, it's fine the way it is. Because now we're going to whisk some butter in. And the butter is going to be the source. This is whole butter now.
Okay.
And it's going to be the source of whatever further thickening we're going to achieve.
Are you going to be using all that butter you have there?
We're going to use all that butter. Beurre Blanc is not a dieter's delight.
Evidently not, of
All right.
course.
Beurre
Beurre Blanc is a cardiologist special.
The first word in Beurre Blanc is butter.
Yes.
All right, so, but it is delicious. And at the same time, you know, I used pomegranate juice, which is one of the hottest new nutraceutical type foods going in the marketplace.
So you have to balance it out
I'm
with
balancing
a lot
some
of full
that
butter.
with some, that's right.
It's well said. That's almost like having the triple cheeseburger with a Diet Coke.
Exactly right. So you can see it's already starting to thicken up a little bit
Yeah. Looks like
from the
it's-
whole butter.
And any preference whether you're using a salted versus an unsalted butter?
It's really a taste preference.
Okay.
In this case, I'm using unsalted.
Just as long as you're using something that has the milk fat and the solids
You
in
want
there.
the protein that's in there is going to help binding.
Okay.
And again, you want this at a very low temp so that you don't cause the butter to break,
Yes.
because then your sauce is going to be broken.
Nothing worse than a broken sauce.
Yeah. How's our salmon doing?
Our salmon is doing quite splendidly. It appears that it's reached a temperature of about 33.5 degrees Celsius.
Okay, well, we're not that far.
And what temperature were we looking for?
We're looking for about 45.
About 45 degrees. So probably by the time the sauce is done, we should have some salmon to go with it, and we have the mango salsa.
Now pair that with a nice Sauvignon Blanc from New Zealand.
Did you bring one with you?
I had put that on the grocery list for you to pick up for me there, buddy.
I tell you. You know, this brings me up to a good segue as you're finishing up that sauce there. That sauce happens to be, I'm sure you're familiar with this, in our food preparation 1 course here that we teach at Mercer. Sauces is one of the weeks that we devote a full class to. You learn how to make your own stocks from scratch, your own sauces, and that's a food preparation 1 course that people seem to be taking for the degree program, whether it be culinology or hotel restaurant or chef apprenticeship. But a lot of home cooks are now taking it, whether it be for credit or not for credit, just to learn a little bit more of some basic skills in the kitchen. Seems like kitchen skills are very popular these days for industry and also for personal
Oh,
growth.
absolutely. The best time to be a chef.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we have our Beurre Blanc, and actually, I'm going to show you a little industrial trick that is available. If you have, let's say you have your sauce and you actually want it thicker than that. Now you could put more butter in.
Sure.
You could thicken it by any means that you would normally find in the kitchen,
Okay.
either a starch or a
Roux
a roux or something. But all of those are going to have an effect on the texture and the mouthfeel of your sauce. Well, there's a product, an industrial product that's available. It's essentially a starch which has been processed in such a way that it's been pre-gelatinized.
Okay.
So unlike kitchen starches that we're usually using, cornstarch or potato starch or any of those other starches, which normally you have to prepare a cold water slurry before you add it.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
can actually add the starch directly to your sauce, and it's already been essentially hydrated
Okay.
and then dried.
So is this something that people could buy at home?
Not really, but certainly if you're in the restaurant business,
Okay.
somewhere like that, you could get materials like that. I mean, the celebrity chefs that we know, like Wiley Dufresne and Trotter and Keller, they all have access to all these
course.
industrial ingredients.
And thanks to you, we at Mercer County Community College also too.
That's it.
We always use that special steak seasoning to create that mushroom Malay sauce that you
That's
shared
right.
the recipe with.
Well, I'm actually going to add, in fact, one of our products, Firmenich, as you know, is a flavor manufacturer, and I'm going to add a thyme Durarome, which is an encapsulated flavor system.
Okay.
So we'll have a little thyme flavor in here as well.
So speaking of, when you talk about flavorings, because I know you're well versed and that's your entire repertoire there in coming up with these flavors. What would you estimate in foods today that people are buying contain flavorings?
Well, if you go to the grocery store and you pick up virtually any packaged food that's in the grocery store and look on the ingredient statement in the back, you will see that just about anything and everything contains flavors of some sort, whether they're natural or artificial. I think the better question is what doesn't contain flavors.
And I have to tell you at home, after tasting a lot of these things, because Jeff and the techno chefs have come in here and used our facilities on several occasions, and the food that they come up with is not only looks great, but tastes fantastic.
Okay, so you can see we got a nice,
Good consistency.
well,
and
thick-bodied sauce. That could easily nappe a spoon, and I'm quite happy with the way that looks. The salsa.
so you can tell, I mean, as opposed to poaching, the color on that is so much more vibrant for that piece of salmon.
Isn't it nice?
Very nice. I think it's that time. We'll take a little taste of this. This is probably the toughest part of hosting any one of these episodes, is having to eat all this food. It's got great texture to it, nice salmon flavor to it. Definitely a lot better to me, in my opinion, than poaching. But I guess all the same benefits, correct?
Well, it has more benefits than poaching. Poaching, as you know, is always going to give you a much stiffer, a much less. I mean, if you look at how flexible that is, right, and soft and moist.
Yeah.
Essentially, when you're poaching, you're driving moisture out of that fish, and the moisture is going into the poaching liquid, lost forever. When you're cooking in a vacuum-sealed bag, the moisture that's in the fish has nowhere to go.
So it just stays with the fish.
Stays with the fish.
And you can definitely tell that with the flavor. And, don't mind if I do have some of this award-winning mango salsa as well. And we hope that you have enjoyed this episode. And just as importantly, come join us for a class, whether it be a credit class or a non-credit class. Email the program at feed@mccc.edu with any questions you may have. And please come join us for a class soon. In the meantime, I'd like to thank our good friend, Chef Jeffrey Kuzminer, also Firmenich, a sponsor partner of ours that's been around and been with us for several years now, and we look forward to maintaining that relationship for a long time. So thank you so much for joining us. Oh, I still have that glove on. He deserves a true hand there.
Frank,
Thank you so
thanks
much.
for inviting me, and it was fun.
We'll see you soon on another edition of Dish It Out. Have a great night.